Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Ray Sanchez, Superintendent of Schools. I just want to welcome everyone to tonight's presentation related to our capital bond project. In a moment, I'll have some of my colleagues introduce themselves, but I'm going to walk us through the agenda and what we can expect from today's webinar. Go to the next slide, please. So over the course of this webinar, there's a number of things we want to review with our community and staff. Number one, we're going to remind everyone about the overall capital scope and the schedule associated with it. We'll review the Washington Irving Intermediate School field and the field replacement and what that will entail and what it'll begin to look like, as well as the bleachers. And then we're going to focus a significant amount of time on on Morris School. We'll review the project and what it'll entail, what it'll begin to look like, because now we have some visuals that we're excited to share with our community. The construction and safety controls, the student progressions to remind everyone where students will be going over the course of the next coming years, meaning grade levels that are directly impacted by that, the construction sequence, and then site logistics for the summer of 2027. I just want to remind, first of all, the community and those that are watching that we intend to have further conversations with families related to the project itself. We're not prepared to share specifically as it relates to the reopening of Tappan and Morris School, what like the intricacies of the day-to-day staffing and what that'll look like just yet. But we are working diligently to eventually share that with our overall community. That being said, another component that I want to share with you is that there is a Q&A box. So that is the place where we'd ask you to, put all your questions in. I'm going to read them aloud and kind of designate them to specific colleagues that are on the Zoom so that they can, hopefully best address them. And if we aren't able to address them in the moment, what we will do is hopefully try to get that information out to the community and staff that are interested in it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over and ask each of our colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we'll begin our presentation. Brian?
Good evening. I'm Brian Freed. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Chris?
Chris Hanneberg, Senior Project Manager with Aris Contracting. We're your construction managers for the project.
And Tina?
Ina Masidi Sayas, Managing Partner at Mamasi, the architecture firm leading the project.
Okay, so I'll turn it over to Tina, our architect.
Right. Okay. So we've been working pretty diligently since the bond passed in December, and have really started to hone in mainly on Morse, with some work intermittently being done. So just to give everybody kind of an understanding and overall review of what the project entails, Morse Elementary School is really focused on reorganizing the classroom rings to right-size classrooms, and it also includes a new classroom addition. It entails complete building renovations, which also include new electrical HVAC systems, service upgrades, and decarbonization of the building as a whole. We are reorganizing and upgrading the administrative suites and some of the student support service areas. We'll be providing a new secure entrance vestibule within the existing footprint, which also includes a security office, along with security system upgrades across the entire school. As I mentioned, we're looking at decarbonizing the building. So that's removing all gas and fossil fuels, which also includes a new electrical service upgrade. And part of that includes new lighting, new fire alarm systems, and IT and technology systems. At WI, which we've not actually started yet, the design, WI is quite similar. There's a large classroom addition, approximately 11 classrooms, and interior renovations and upgrades to the HVAC systems and infrastructure, very similar to Morse. One of the other things that we are doing is a turf and bleacher replacement, which we're actually in the design process of, and that project, along with Morse, have both been submitted to the State Education Department for review. So those two projects are well on their way. Sleepy Hollow, we will be looking at building a classroom addition along with some athletic field, light and track resurfacing at Tappan, which will ultimately house a grade. We'll be looking at infrastructure upgrades and some building finish replacements to reoccupy the building, which includes ceilings, lights, and flooring, along with a roof replacement. And then at JP, really, we're focused on removing the modulars and then some infrastructure improvements as well.
This is the overall schedule. It's overall planning schedule, and it lists the projects on the left-hand side along with timelines along the top. So as Tina had mentioned, we have W.L. Morris, we have W.I. Intermediate School, Sleepy Hollow Middle School, Tappan, and then JP. Construction starts or kicks off with W.L. Morris, which I'm going to talk about a little later, specifically regarding health and safety and phasing. But the construction starts in the summer of 2025 and then is completed in the summer of 2027. WI starts in the summer of 26 and is completed in 2027. The middle school, high school work, the classroom work, and athletic improvements are for summer of 2027 into 2028. And then we're finishing with Tappan and JP starting 2027 summer and then completing in December.
So we'll get right into WI field and leisure project replacement that's underway. The image that you see on, do you see my cursor as I'm pointing? Just to be sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So the image that you see on the left is an existing overview of the site, including the building. This is the existing field. These are the existing concrete bleachers that you know, are in disrepair. And the building essentially sits along North Broadway. We are looking at new bleachers and a new grass seating area. So these are the new bleachers, the new grass seating area, a new turf, and just switch this side, new turf field and asphalt walking surface, and upgraded fencing and improved drainage across the area as well. This is kind of a combination of a construction drawing along with what an understanding of the field and the turf might look like. I'm going to go directly to some of the images because I think they tell a bigger picture or story. So again, new bleacher and grass seating area so that you see that right here. The bleachers are centered on the field. You can see them in this lower image. There is a storage zone sort of cut out of this. There will be some modulars on the track surface level for athletic storage. And throughout, there'll be a series of fencing upgrades and new fencing as required. And this is a view kind of at the bottom of the bleachers looking back to the school. And then we'll move to W.L. Morris. Again, the image on the left is an existing site. The image on the right is the proposed site with the building kind of mapped onto it. So what you'll see is there is this gray area is all the site parking and drive area. So you'll see that we'll be improving the layout and introducing crosswalks and ADA accessible parking spots that will be indicated here. What the big difference here is that you see that in this existing site, this is open, and on the new site, this white identifies the actual building addition that we will be constructing, and this area in here is now an enclosed courtyard. These are both the existing floor plans and the proposed floor plans. And I think the biggest thing to point out here is that on a typical floor, let's use the second floor, for example, you'll see that there are 5 classrooms along a typical bay that are all, you know, very small. Whereas on the new proposed second floor, we have taken that and created 4 larger classrooms. Again, the building addition sits sort of at the back of the building or at the alleyway this is the sub-basement level, which there's no construction at that level. Once you get to the basement level, the addition starts here where it's only a large storage area to support the renovations and the kitchen. And then when you get to the first floor, you'll see there's a full classroom, 2 small group instructional spaces. And then the second and the third floors, there are 2 full-size classrooms. Also important to note out that currently, obviously, there's no connection between these floors on any level at the back of the building. So really the circulation is a U around it, and this new corridor will connect the building at all levels. This is to demonstrate kind of what the building is going to start to look like with its addition and some of the spaces that we're creating from that. So again, this is a key plan showing the existing building. So this is the main entrance on this corner, and this is the addition which fills the U. This is a view looking kind of in this direction if you're standing sort of at the edge of the alley and the crossroad. So the addition sits between a 1926 building and the 1921 building, the 2 original buildings. This is just a view kind of, if you were looking straight onto the building, what you'll see is that this is 2 classrooms in this location. There are also 2 classrooms on each level above, and a direct access from that floor out to the back alley. This is a section kind of cut through the building. So what you're seeing here is this structure here is the 1921 building. The typical floor plan is 2 large classrooms on the main floors. The 3rd floor is a layout that's quite different that you'll see as we move further along. These are cut through 2 small group instructional spaces. And then what you're seeing here is the backside of the addition, but is actually the face of the new courtyard. So the courtyard space is really envisioned as both an area where kids can have lunch outside when weather permits, and also a place to support an outdoor classroom area and play area. So the basement level, I'm going to just, we're not showing the sub-basement as there's not, we are doing some work on the gym. It is minimal. We're creating some storage, a bathroom, and offices for the PE teachers. But at the basement level, we are looking at complete gut renovation of the cafeteria, which you can sort of see in this view. This is kind of, if you were to take the ceiling off, what you would see looking down at the space. This area is the kitchen back here. This is the new food storage area. The cafeteria then leads to both a set of stairs and a ramp that bring you to a lift that takes you down to the gym, or the staircase that takes you down. What this line is designating is the actual extension of the cafeteria. So we were taking some existing space that was in here and sort of taking the wall out to extend the cafeteria and increase the seating size, the seating area for students. This is a view kind of looking from the back kitchen side of the cafeteria, looking back. This is the connecting corridor that brings you to both the bathrooms and the lift and the stair that bring you down to the gym, or to the stair that brings you up to the first floor. We're showing a partial plan of the first floor, really so that we can focus on the lobby and the entrance. What you will see here is this is the existing conditions right now. So the nurse is right at the corner of the building. The entrance is split, where there's an entrance and sort of an exit, and the stair A that brings you up and down to different floors. The main office currently is in this location. However, it's split and it's very small. There's a workroom that's on the other side of this that will now be connecting. So what we are doing is creating a secure entrance vestibule, which is the main entrance, and then a visitors entrance vestibule. So all visitors that come in will now come in through this area. They will check in with the security office and then be buzzed into the building. The main office is remaining in this location. However, you can see here that it's getting expanded. The entrance is off of the main lobby, and the principal's office is also being moved from this location to adjacent to the main office with a direct connection. This is the typical view of the corridor. So you can see this is existing. We'll be removing all the lockers and introducing new flooring, new ceilings, and painting and repairing walls as required. And this is the full first floor plan. And really what we wanted to show, we talked about the lobby, the main office, the principal's office. We are moving the nurse from this small area here to a zone that's a little bit more suitable. And we're able obviously to redesign it so that it meets all requirements for clearances. There will also be a bathroom associated with the nurse's room, and then a single user bathroom off the corridor. The typical layout, though, from when you get from at least on this side of the 1926 building, and then the addition is, like I said, 4 classrooms. And on this side, it's 2. When you get to the second floor, there are additional classrooms, but the typical classroom layout are very similar from classroom to classroom. It's sort of zoned to be able to students to use the space and teachers to use the space differently and large enough to support that. I think I'm going to move to the next slide just so I can show that a little bit more clearly. So this is a typical floor plan of a classroom in the existing building. What you can see is the entrance off of the corridor, and many of the doors we're trying to reuse openings as much as we can, just because opening these walls are it's actually a significant task given the size of the walls. When you do walk into the entrance, there is an area that's suited for cubbies and overhead storage. In this zone, what you're seeing here in this image, there is a student group learning area. The main learning space is really focused around the center of the space with an instructional wall and story time and area right at the bank of the instructional wall. The teacher station is tied to a location where there's visibility across the room, and then again, some additional storage and pinup space. So this is showing what the typical existing condition is, and this is what the minimum condition is moving forward. This is just a view looking the other direction. So this is looking sort of from the cubbies to the instructional wall and the wall behind. And then moving to the third floor. The second floor is very similar to the first floor, whereas the third floor is actually quite different. Again, on the 1926 building, in this case, we have 3 large classrooms with 2 small group instructional spaces cut in to support some of the student support services. This is the 2 new classrooms in the addition. And then the 1921 building is really dedicated to specials. So there's art on the end, music that's in the center area, and then the STEAM and library space at the front end of the building above. These are sort of just views of what these spaces are starting to look like. This is the STEAM lab and the library. So the central area is really focused on the working space, and this small area is both a combination of library space and reading space. And this is a view kind of looking from the entrance, which now is here through the back of the space. What you can see is that we have enclosed this stair for a rated stair enclosure. We have created a vestibule that gets you into either the STEAM room or the music area. This similar setup in the sense that there's an instructional wall that has both a smart board and pinup space and a whiteboard. Teacher station, in this case, plenty of storage to support STEAM, a wet zone and storage area and working counter space, a small learning corner that's focused on a writing wall, and then the general work zone, which is really the central area of the space. This area here is where we line the perimeter wall with casework, so millwork and for book storage. So this is really the book area with some student little pods and seating areas dispersed around that. This is a view kind of looking at that wall that I just explained. There are some sort of activity nooks kind of built into it as well, so that this area acts as far more than just a library and in many ways more than a STEAM lab. And that's all for walking through the design. I
Thank
think
you,
I'm going to
Tina.
hand it over to Krista, who's going to talk about the construction, safety and sequencing and schedule.
Thank you, Tina. Yeah, I'll be talking about the construction safety controls and then phasing and logistics for the Morris schools specifically. So construction safety and controls in and around an occupied building. The occupied building spaces comply with minimum requirements to maintain a certificate of occupancy. So what does that mean? It means that the building that is the portion of the building that is going to be occupied is going to have all the same life safety systems in it that it has today. Egress, fire alarm, lighting, ventilation, et cetera. All those areas are being maintained and the building is safe to occupy. All school construction areas are tested for lead and asbestos. We've had a third-party engineer go through and perform all of the third-party testing of the building. We have found where the asbestos is at and where the hazardous materials are at. And I want to make sure it's clear that any asbestos abatement that is going to be performed will be performed during unoccupied summers. If the event that asbestos is found throughout the school year, they'll be abated during long weekends or long vacation time. So all abatement will be performed when the building is unoccupied. Construction areas are separated from occupied areas. So all the construction that's going to take place, and I'll show you the sequencing and phasing of that, will be separated from the occupied areas. Temporary partitions will be installed. Those temporary partitions will run from the floor to the underside of the deck above, separating, again, construction from occupied areas. Those temporary partitions allow us to install negative air systems in the construction area. The negative air systems will draw dust, dirt, debris, any off-gassing, fumes, et cetera, out of the construction area to the exterior, away from, again, the occupied areas. So no gases or fumes or smells essentially will go into the occupied areas. Construction traffic, just regarding that, as far as I'll work with the district regarding blackout timeframes. So deliveries don't have any conflicts with busing in the morning, and deliveries wouldn't have any issues with buses in the afternoon. Regarding construction noise, again, those construction barriers, along with some buffer zones that I'll show you here shortly, they will definitely mitigate noise filtering into the occupied areas. So go to the next slide here if I have control.
Yep. You see, I could probably do it for you. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the student progression. This is a refresher of the student progression slide that we had from last year pre-referendum. The only update, so to say, is that if we look at Morris, Tina, you can see my cursor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you look at Morris here, we had first intended that Morris would do a transfer mid-year. And what we settled on, we are not doing a transfer of grades mid-year. It is going to be construction on one side of the building, which I'll show here shortly. And then we're going to do a flip-flop in the summer. So there's no mid-year move, so to say, with the students. So again, I'll show you some of that in a few minutes here. So Morris currently houses first grade and second grade. Morris, over the construction time frame, will only house one grade. I'm just making sure my cursor is working here. Okay, so during the 25-26 school year, again, we will have one grade being second grade in Morris, and you're going to see where they're going to be housed at and how it's going to be flipped over. In the 26-27 school year, again, there will be only one grade in Morris. The Tappan will be first grade and second grade during those two years. So first grade will move into Tappan and be maintained at Tappan. That first grade will stay and become second grade in the 26-27 school year. Try and go to the next slide here. Tina, if you can help me out.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Thank you. And you can, there you go.
Did it work?
So So once this is fully populated, you'll see in 27, 28 is when all schools are repopulated in the planned agenda, with first and second grade in Morris, third grade in Washington Irving, kindergarten in Tappan, and then JP has pre-K. So this is an overall site plan of Morris, and just to help you get orientated, I know Tina had mentioned it earlier. If we're sitting in the parking lot looking towards the building, the left-hand side of the building is the 1921 side, and the right-hand side of the building is the 1926 side. This is a overall logistics plan, and the areas in pink, I would say, are under construction. Those areas in pink will be surrounded by temporary fencing. The fencing will have some fabric on it. The front of the building will have some construction trailers, again, some fencing in front of those construction trailers with fabric in front of them. For the balance of the presentation, you'll see some areas in blue and some blue arrows that I'm kind of highlighting now. Those arrows are egress, so you'll see that throughout this presentation on the floor plans and on the site plans. Those are for egress and ingress into the buildings. This is summer 2025 for construction, and as I mentioned earlier, the major items that are going to take place in the summer are the abatement, the major demolition, the major construction of the addition. So footings, foundation, structural steel, cold form metal framing, those will happen over the summer. And what we're representing here is the 5 floor plans Tina had mentioned before: the sub basement, the basement, first floor plan, second floor plan, and third floor plan. And for the most part, the right-hand side of the building, being the 26th side of the building, is shown in pink. Those are the construction. Let me just try to get that back here.
Sorry, are you seeing it? Did it change?
Yeah, it's not in presentation.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Yeah, let me see. Is that better?
Yes, perfect.
Sorry about
So
that.
the right-hand side of the building shown in pink is area under construction. The left-hand side of the drawing, which for the most part is green, is area that is going to be occupied. And again, we're summer 2025, major demolition, major construction happening over the summer. The areas in the left-hand side, although they're showing as being occupied, they're going to be unoccupied. No construction being taken place in those areas. The areas in that teal are what are considered buffered zones. And again, I'm going to show those a little bit further here once we're into the school year. I am going to also point out the temporary partitions that are going to be installed, again, segregating the construction side from the occupied areas. Couple areas here where we're going to be removing some windows facing the addition. Those windows will get relocated to the back of the building. We will then install a temporary partition in front of that existing wall, again, helping with sound and mitigating the view, so to say, to the addition. And that's pretty much here for the summer 2025. Moving into the actually, this is just a blow up of those temporary partitions, how we're going to bisect the corridors and still maintain access to the elevators throughout construction. So next slide is the school year 25-26. This is when we will be working on the right-hand side of the building. Left-hand side of the building, being in the green there, is going to be occupied. We're just designated ballpark of 10 classrooms right now, but you can see the auditorium on the first floor, the cafeteria on the basement floor. Those areas are occupied. The areas on the right-hand side, the classroom side that Tina had mentioned earlier, those are all under construction. Again, temporary partitions are up. Negative air machines are in place. No abatement occurring over the school year. And again, I'm showing some blue areas here, blue arrows as far as egress and ingress into the building. So then we move into the summer of 2026. Summer of 2026, as far as the site concerned, is going to be a utility summer. Electrical utilities being brought in. There's going to be some sub drainage structures being installed to, again, help with the basement flooding. There's also going to be a pullback of the staging area now that the addition is completed. Staging area around the back is going to be pulled back, so that's going to become smaller. And then again, at the end of the summer, the site then opens back up for occupancy. Building construction over the summer 2026. You can see on the right-hand side of the building, it's a little bit darker green now, and we flip-flop the pink to the left-hand side. the 21 side of the building. So the green areas are completed, and they're highlighted in 1 through, I think, 12, being that there's 12 open classrooms there for occupancy. But again, we're summertime during this slide, but we're representing that those areas are completed and they're essentially turned over. The areas in beige, which is the auditorium, the cafeteria, some hallways, and again, some hallways up on the 2nd floor. Those areas in beige are considered summer construction. So the summer construction is going to start immediately as the building is unoccupied from the school year into the summer, and will be completed at the end of August. So we're going to complete the auditorium work. There's some bathroom work. We're going to complete the kitchen area work and the cafeteria, this corridor work, all going to be completed and turned back over for the school year 26 into 27. And again, left-hand side, heavy demolition, beginning reconstruction. We are not getting into the main entrances or the basement summer of 2026. You'll see that in a few slides. That'll be summer of 2027. Some of the temporary partitions did move around. But again, here we are, school year 26, 27. Right-hand side of the building is occupied. Left-hand side of the building, for the most part, is under construction. The auditorium is turned over. The cafeteria is turned over. The corridors are turned over. And again, the main entrance and gymnasium are not started yet, but they are occupied for use. You can see, again, these teal areas here are separation or buffer zones, so to say, from the construction area on the left-hand side to these classrooms on the right-hand side. And then summer 2027. Go to the next slide. Summer 2027, all the areas in green are now completed and turned over. The areas in pink being the main entrance, the entrance on the 1st floor, and then the sub-basement gym. Those areas are going to be summer work only and be completed at the end of August. So again, majority of the work is completed. Summer work is really just going to be a cleanup of what is remaining. And then site logistics, summer of 2027, again, is more of a cleanup of summer of work, excuse me, and it's a full asphalt replacement with all the areas that you see in gray. It is asphalt striping, landscaping, and fencing. So as you can see, a lot of work happening, again, spanning 3 summers, 2 full school years. We're managing logistics and certainly maintaining the health and safety of the building occupants, being the staff and the children. So with that said, I'm completed, and I'm going to turn it back over to Ray.
All right, so I just want to thank Tina and Chris for leading us through their segments of the presentation. And I do want to just share some context. You know, we meet every other week, and in between there's meetings that are taking place with staff and various stakeholders to kind of make sure that we're meeting our deadlines. We have submitted on Morris and WI, and our intent and our hope is that we'll be submitting for the lights at the high school as well. So that is one that we moved up just slightly in the project scope, so that we can see, you know, just get more of the benefits for our community as well as our athletic department and overall for the school community. The other part of it, just want to share, and there was a question that was related to the playground at Morris School. I shared a little bit about just overall, we are very thankful that the village was able to secure the New York Forward grant. That is going to give us more than $1 million to help us renovate that space, not only for our school, but our overall community. We have not started the design process associated with that, nor do we think that that's going to take place in the context of everything that you've seen in the moment. It's going to lead to significant challenges related to trying to get a project done related to the playground, other set of contractors, while we're also trying to get the project at Morris complete, which is, you know, for the most part, our #1 priority in terms of making sure we meet the timelines associated with it. So more to come associated with that. We've met with the staff. We'll continue to meet with the staff regarding questions that they may have, so that their voice is heard. And we continue to meet with Mr. Wally, who's been really integral, and I want to thank him for everything that he's done. And I also see Tony DeMann, our Director of Facilities, who's also been instrumental in helping share perspectives related to our buildings themselves, as well as helping us in finalizing some of the decisions associated with the overall project. So those are just some items I wanted to share with the overall community. I just want to go to just two other questions that came in. I'll go first. Will you be testing air quality daily during construction? I guess, Chris, that's a question for you.
Air quality is not tested during construction. Air quality is tested during the abatement process. But certainly with the negative air systems in place, the air again being pulled out of the construction area to the exterior helps with that situation.
Okay, some of the floors during some years, classroom space appears to be directly adjacent to construction areas with no real buffer zones. Could you talk about how noise and other disruptions might be minimized for children assigned to those classrooms?
So again, I did take a look at that. A lot of buffer zones are in place, but specifically there are partitions that are put in place, and those partitions again run from the floor to the underside of deck above through the ceiling. Those partitions will be 5/8 sheetrock, 6-inch metal stud either side with insulation, so they will reduce and mitigate any construction noise into those areas. There's corridors that are in between the teaching spaces and the construction zones, so that there's definitely sufficient buffering there.
And I guess the other question comes from Benjamin. Can we regularize the parking lot to reduce asphalt and make the playground larger? Also make classroom ceiling heights as tall as possible. I'm not sure we can answer that in the moment, but certainly we're trying our best to make sure that we maximize every space for our kids as it relates to playground and ceiling heights. Tina, anything you want to just add associated with that?
The ceilings are right now they're the classroom ceilings are 10'6", which is pretty high, and they're actually pulled off the exterior wall to allow the transom, which is the window piece, the fixed window piece at the highest point, to still allow light in.
Okay. Question came up. I'm not sure if you're planning to go deeper into tap-in this evening, but I have a few questions. That site, should I hold off? Okay, thank you for asking that, Annie. And the answer is no. The focus has been on the two construction sites. For the most part, as it relates to tap-in, and we could speak more and try to address any questions specifically related to that site. But for the most part, that's going to be cosmetic in nature. A lot of the work that's being done there, from ceilings and lighting and painting, but we can go into a deeper dive for those families that have questions at a later time. The question came up or is here for Tappan Hill. What is being done to create safe walking routes for kids who will be attending school for 2 years to reflect the district's adopted policy promoting safe walking to school? Has the district made a plan to restore the paved trail providing access to the hill to the school? At this point, we've been in communication with the village, more so on the Terrytown, of course. There is no plans on the part of the district to add sidewalks in this case. I'll look at the paved. I thought that there was an access that still is available, but we'll certainly take a look at it and hopefully can provide more further details down the road. Will the project go out to bid? Will it be awarded in phases or overall project, just so contractor can be involved in logistics and safety? Chris?
Project will be going out the bid ballpark March. What was the follow-up to that?
In phases one.
As far as phases, no, it's going to be bid as a single phase, so to say. And we are in control of the construction and safety. So I think that was part of that question.
All right, so I'm going to go to the shorter question and the longer question as it relates to Tappan becoming a permanent school with the district, or is the district renting it back to BOCES post-construction? The intent at this point and what we shared during the bond project was that it would become a permanent school for the district. We have worked, just so you know, with BOCES to make them aware and since last year of the possibility, and then with when the bond passed, and want to thank the community for that. We have been in communication around, getting access to the building while they still maintain their programs, valuing that. But our understanding too is that they've also secured transfiguration, so I think they're going to be transitioning their program to that space. To my knowledge, Tappan Hill is the only school in the district without sidewalks on the surrounding streets. Terrytown conducted a traffic study on Highland last year, which counted for 3,000 cars. Just going to keep reading. Recently, the district amended its wellness policy, emphasizing support for walkable. I'd like to know if the district is aware of this issue and how. What I would share, and I think I referenced this before, but I'll repeat it, is that the district has had communication, and I know some have actually reached out to the village and Terrytown, and they've always been great partners in this discussion. There has been no discussion around adding sidewalks, other than we're conscious of the fact that we may have more walkers on the road, but something that we'll probably have to give you more details, if there's any changes associated or actions that we've been able to take directly. But we are aware of the issue. I might hold off on these. Prepared to address specifics. Yeah. Able to offer use of time, reasonable expectations for those kind of updates. All right, so I'll just share a couple things related to just updates. It's not likely until the new year, I would say late December or even January, that we'll be providing our next set of updates, which will be, more specific related to what Tappan looks like, and other variables and decisions that we've made that I think are really important. But just to give you a sense, we have a running list, a project management document that we're utilizing to make sure that we're keeping on track with various items that we are important, including, for example, even the traditions that our first grade students have at Morris. We spent a great deal of time this morning, even just talking about those and how do we honor them as we think about, our students and some of the values that we've instilled as a community and a school community. So more of that will come for our families and for others that may be of interest. Infrastructure upgrades, building finishes. All right, so the next part, those are more like, again, specifics related to upgrades for Tappan, but I think we can share more of that in the, like I said, in that timeline that I share, but most of it is cosmetic from lighting, ceilings, and a number of others, but we'll be more specific in our upcoming presentation associated with that. The question of the roof replacement, those questions of whether this was the first time shared, that wouldn't take place during the school year for the most part. Yeah, so I just want to make sure, Annie, that you're fully aware, and for any parent that's watching or a community member, this is, the roof replacement wouldn't be taking place as the students are in-house. The other part of it too, I just want everyone to be conscious of, which we've shared, but it's also worth reminding that we're also pursuing an energy performance contract. That energy performance contract would bring solar as a major option as an energy source for our school district. Part of the roof replacement would consider this and making sure our roofs are stable enough to withhold solar panels. And that's a broader and yet another separate conversation to have with our community in terms of what it'll look like, where we'll see solar panels. We have a lot of, good opportunities as relates to that. And we'll share more as the sort of the final decision is made related to it as well. Yeah, the question around administration, I'll share more as that decision is made. Mr. Wally certainly can be in two places at one time, but we'll share more, and we're conscious of the need to, make that decision for others, but we'll let everyone know very soon. And will teachers need to prioritize during school hours of construction? What I'll share around the construction noise is that priority is going to be instruction. Instruction will come before construction is probably the best way I can frame it.
Yeah.
There will be ongoing meetings between the construction manager and our building leaders, and if necessary, staff representatives. But more so, if there are any issues, they're there to problem solve and troubleshoot that. But what we don't want is construction to disrupt the type of instruction that we want to provide our students. And I want to really be conscious of like some of the major things, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the major noise levels will be done during hours that are not specific to having students in the buildings. So I just want to really kind of reiterate that for everyone. It's really, really important for us overall, beyond just getting the project done, that instruction continues to be prioritized throughout this. But I understand that, you know, the question itself. So, and we're going to have ongoing conversations that are set up, you know, bi-weekly or weekly if they need to, with the building leaders so that they can have voice in what they're seeing, hearing, and questions, and discussing even next phases of projects as they go forward.
Yep.
Anything, Chris, that I missed on that?
No, that was very, very well done. Yeah, we will not disrupt the curriculum or instruction.
Okay. So what we'll do is actually we'll use the questions that are available and that you've asked, because our hope is actually we can begin, you know, while we had a frequently asked question document for the community as we were proposing the bond. Now there are clearly some questions that are surfacing and some of them consistent. We'll try to make sure we capture them so that folks can reference it at any time. We are going to post this video on our facilities website. So please encourage, if you have neighbors or anyone that has not had the opportunity to see it, please always, you can go back and reference it. If there's slides you want to review again, they're going to be there for you to access as well. And then we will be pushing out this video to community and staff so that they can watch it at their leisure if they'd like to. And hopefully this addresses any questions. Sometimes one has to hear it and see it a second and a third time to just, you know, really delve deeper into it and have just a deeper understanding of the project as a whole. It's a complex project, but we're, you know, really optimistic. I think we have a great team, and, you know, from our architect and our construction manager, but also the team, meaning overall in the district, has been really helpful. And want to thank everyone that's been involved, from our teaching staff to our head custodian to our building leader and everybody else. So just thank you everyone for everything we've done to this point. We'll continue to provide you updates. And that being said, also thank you overall to everybody for their support of this project. And we wouldn't be talking about this if we didn't have the overall support of the community. So hope you found this helpful, and look forward to speaking to everyone again. But in the meantime, I wish everyone a very good evening.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to stop the webinar.